Mr. Wu gained wide recognition as a fearless advocate of human rights after being arrested at the Chinese border, held for 66 days by communist authorities, and subsequently sentenced to 15 years for, quote, stealing state secrets. He was, however, immediately expelled as a result of an extensive campaign on his behalf. As China's best-known international dissident, he has spent over 3 decades risking his life to expose human rights abuses. After coming to the United States in 1985 as a visiting professor of geology at UC Berkeley, he began to write about his experiences. In 1992, he published Laogai, the Chinese Gulag, and the following year, Bitter Winds, a memoir of my years in China's Gulag, which the LA Times noted deserves comparison to Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago. Harry Wu's new book, published just last month, is titled Troublemaker, One Man's Crusade Against China's Cruelty, which is the occasion of his being here with us today. Following his remarks, Mr. Wu will take some questions, and afterwards he'll sign some copies of his books. Recipient of Freedom and Human Rights Awards from the world community, Mr. Wu is currently the executive director of the Laogai Research Foundation and a research fellow of the Hoover Institution at Stanford University. Please welcome to our inaugural event here in the Viewpoint Lounge, Mr. Harry Wu.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I'm late. My ASCO have some problem. Anyway, I'm very happy to be here. Troublemaker. You know, to be, not to be, this is a big problem. To be a troublemaker is not easy, it's difficult. But not to be is impossible. Become a troublemaker to the communist regime. You know, they own 3 million military, 1.5 million armed police. They have many friends in the United States. Make trouble to them, they will make trouble to you. It is true. Today, my life, my family, my friends, are constantly threatened by Chinese government. In the midnight, I can wake up by some phone call. They want to kill me. It is true. It is not easy. But not to be, I try not to be. Try to be a good citizen today. You know, I'm the bad citizen. They put me in the jail. They want to reform me, become a good citizen. Today, they put Wang Dan to Wei Jingsheng over there, because these two also is not good citizen. Need a reform. Throw the labor, reform a good citizen. November 1985, I've been here. The first moment I arrived in San Francisco, I told myself, I'm free. Even only $40 in my pocket. And many, at the beginning, day and night, I have to stay on the street. But I told myself, in this country, if I work hard, if I be honest, if I never give up, I can have a good life. I want to turn the page over. I don't want to get in the nightmare. I tried, but I can't. You know, in my 19 years, so many men, 24 hours with me. They're teaching me how to live. They help me how to survive. But today, they're not available to come here. Shall I say no, forget it? In front of these people, I'm guilty. I cannot do that. Harry Wu today are kind of well-known. But Harry Wu as a name, for me, for an individual person, means nothing. You read my Bitter Wings. In the 19 years, many times, many occasions, I can pass away. If once happened, come on, who is Harry Wu? There's no Harry Wu. But some Harry Wu still will come up here, tell you about it. Tell you about their story. Today, I come over here as a survivor, as a witness. I have a little bit courageous and a kind of determination, remove my brick on the Great Wall. And then you can have a glimpse to see what is inside of China. So, since I come to here, come to United States, I wrote 3 books: Laogai, the Chinese Gulag, Bitter Wings, and Troublemaker. Only one subject. Whatever either scholar in Hoover Institution, whatever either appear in the TV, whatever in front of you I'm talking about, one subject, Laogai, Laogai. If you want to ask me, say, what are you doing? What are you fighting for? My answer is very simple. I want to see Laogai, Laogai, as a word in every dictionary, in every country, in every language. And as you know, before 1974, Gulag, G-U-L-A-G, is not a word. Today it does. It is. Gulag means Soviet Union political violence. Stalin Gulag, Stalin labor camp. Under the turn of Laogai, 50 million people already suffered. And half of them, between 20 to 20 million people, dismissed. I just very lucky I survived. Many people, yes, they survived. Inside China, maybe in the United States, but already mentally destroyed it, so-called thought reform. Mentally, they're killing these people. And sometimes I feel a kind of discrimination. Why the people spend 168 million to build the Memorial Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington? 2 years ago, a movie, Schindler's List, they won a number of the Oscar awards. And today, talking about Anna Frank diary. The people remember about the Gulag. Why there's nothing about China? And the common knowledge, every totalitarian regime must accompany with a suppressing system. In Nazi Germany, we call concentration camp. In Soviet Union, we call this is Gulag. In Pol Pot, we call this a killing field. But in Communist China, we don't have it. So many scholars, so many Chinese experts, sinologists, writing a number of the book. They can tell you about the queen, the pigtail. They can tell you about Great Li Fao. They can give you a lot of a very special political turn in China. Okay. Bending the foot, they use the name golden lilies. Okay. But Laogai is a very common, popular word in China. Every Chinese, you can ask them, what is Laogai? I'm not sure how many percentage the people can tell you, yes, my brother, my father, my neighbor, my family, my uncle has been in Laogai, but very high percentage. Why we these Western famous, well-known scholar, specialists never have the term Laogai in their paper, in their report, in their study. And then I feel, Jesus, maybe we Chinese are those very special human beings. Never in the consideration, never in their mind. Of course not. Today, the people are very interested about China because they're thinking about 1.2 billion cheap labor. They tell you about this is a lucrative market. Let's go. So this is two concepts in my mind. I feel I have to do something. I want to talk about it. Okay? So that's why all my activities, all my life, all my publication focus on this issue. And I want to tell you, Laogai is a political issue, but also it's a human rights issue. Just like the Holocaust. There's no concentration camp today in Germany, but the people say, we have to memorize that. Okay? And we have to recall all of these stories. We have to give these stories to our children, to our children's children. We have to do the same thing. Each individual in the Laogai, the story have to bear a name in the Great Wall. We have to carry that name on and on. We have no reason to forget about these people. We have no reason to say, well, it's over. Maybe tomorrow the communist regime collapsed. And it is true the Laogai is designed by the Communist Party to destroy the people. But the story would not stop over there. Okay. So sometimes the people say, what is your dream? My dream, I hope, have a Laogai Memorial Museum, first in China, and then in everywhere. I don't know if it could happen or not, but this is my dream. We have to have it. And some people today try to tell me, particularly the Chinese Communist government, that published a number of the paper, report. The very important one is 1992, so-called white paper, criminal reform in China. They try to tell you every country needs a prison system. So Americans also have a prison system, right? But we do it in a different way, that's it. And our system is the best system for reform these criminals. And American people say, well, we have the chain gang. We also, the prisoner forced labor, make a license plate. And so what? And nobody wants to compare American prison system with Soviet Gulag system, with the Hitler concentration camp, forced labor. And the people say, well, total different thing. Why you want to compare with China, Chinese system? Hitler divided people by race, according so-called National Socialism idea, according to Hitler's idea. Stalin and Mao, according to communism revolutionary idea, divided people by class. Both are crimes. In our human being society, according one political idea, according one party directives, one leader's concept, and using the government power, set up a system to crush the people, this is a fundamental crime. And some people want to argue, there's a lot of criminals today in China. These people are murdered, these people are rapists, they deserve the punishment. Well, I give you several examples for your reference. 1957, I was 20 years old. I'm a student. I never involve politics. Doesn't like this Wu Kai-shi or Cai Ling so bravely in the Tiananmen Square. I'm not. I play baseball. I have a girlfriend. I, enjoy my life. I was invited by the party to express my mind. I told the secretary of the party several times, I said, no, I don't have anything want to talk about. We want to talk about it. And I only say two sentences. One, I disagree with the Soviet invasion in Hungary. It seems to me this violates the international law. Second, I disagree the communists treating the ordinary people as a second-class citizen. That's it. I right away got the label counter-revolution writers. The reason is what? I come from bourgeois class. And also I was Catholic. This is the target of the communism revolution. And it is true, since 1949 until 1979, the two classes dismissed. Physically dismissed. Now, the other question is how to define so-called criminal, so-called political criminal or penal criminal. In Tiananmen Square incident, there's 3 young people went to the gate, throw the pins, damage the Chairman Mao's portrait. It's a protest. One sentenced 10 years, one in 15, the other sentenced to life. Their crime, they charge them damage public properties. If Chinese government willing to give you a list, so-called counter-revolutionary, these 3 people is not on the list. How to define? In early 30 years, if you and me involved as a thief, we're really thief, we're stealing something from people's commune. If you father or your mother is landlord class, you've got a big trouble. They can sentence 15 years, 20 years. Your crime, thief, because this is counter-revolutionary revenge. You hate the people's commune. You hate our socialist paradise. You come from the enemy class. So you understand one thing. This system, this machine is designed for support communism ruling. Support communism revolution. So this is not the simplest prison system in the world. Today, I don't want to spend many time to describe the situation and describe the system. I want to point out one thing and relate to my book. The people today in the world try to tell you many improvements, many changes today in China. I'm particularly talking about China in economic area, even in political area, a lot of changing. No denial. And I want to say, on the top of the changing on the list, the number 1 changing is what? Communism as an ideology is finished. This is a very important change. We have to know about it. Let me give you a 3-person story, give you a kind of, for your understanding. I say the story is a 3W story. 3-person, the last name, the first letter is W. The first guy named Harry Wu, Wu W, first W. You know about it. He spent 19 years. And the people say, oh, this long time ago, this under the Mao, we never do it. Okay. Wu released February 79. And the people say, Deng Xiaoping, come to the power, we get in a new area, new time. The next month, Deng Xiaoping arrests Wei Jingsheng, second W. Because Wei Jingsheng say, we need a 5th modernization, democracy, 15 years sentence. And the people say, well, it's over, okay, this is an old story. The 3rd W, Wang Dan, Wang, another W. What he did, you know that, sit on the Tiananmen Square, hunger strike to protest. 4-year sentence. Anyway, the people say, it's over, let's look forward. So this story stopped in 1994, the 3W. And then the first W last year went back to China with a hidden camera, not with a weapon. Stealing state secrets, sentenced 15 years. But the first W are kind of lucky, have American passport. Otherwise, he stay over there, not right here. The second W, you know it, sentenced another 14 years. Ridiculously, the third W, another 11 years, because he wants to enroll in UC Berkeley study program. And this is intent to subvert the Chinese government. Is China changed? This country, despite any kind of changing, is remain in control by the communist ruling, not changed. Recently, just about 2 or 3 days, there's a very good story in our newspaper, Disneyland. Disneyland is American enterprises, American media. Under the freedom of speech, they want to move it. Chinese authorities cross over the Pacific Ocean, come over and say, no, you should not do that. Otherwise, I will cancel your business in China. What are they doing? They're so powerful, they can cross all the way Pacific Ocean to tell the American media, stop it. If you don't do it, I will jeopardize you. Now you can see what it is freedom of speech in China. Even outside, they want to stop you, cancel you. Is that country freedom? Do you think your money in the last 10 years put over there is changing China now? Anyway, I think in my book, I delivered 2 messages. One, Laogai. Second, rethinking China. Thank you. And I'd like to take your question.
Mr. Wu does have time for a few questions. If you could just use that microphone, it would be appreciated.
Mr. Wu, thank you very much. My name is Tommy Lin. I'm a student at UCLA. I think it is very clear that from your book and from the many speeches and then from other colleagues of yours that there are clear human rights violations committed by the communist government. What do you suggest in particular that the people like us or the U.S. government need to do to make them change, aside from having an all-scale war, which seems to be the only solution that needs to be going to them?
I would suggest beginning on small things. First of all, please, using LAOGAI as a word in your speech, in your paper, in your report, in your conversation. Second, stop by the toys. Today, 60–70% of the toys in American market made in China. This particular toys is 1994. I directly obtained it from Shanghai Municipal Controlled Bamouling prison. In this prison, probably, I don't exactly have the number, 50 to 60,000 prisoners. It's a very large farm. My wife, we posed as a businessman and posed as a prisoner's family. We went over there and asked the police, what's happened? Do they have a break or what? Because I don't see the people labor in the field. He said, no, they were behind a bar with toys. I'm not going to say 100% of the toys today in American market come from forced labor. Maybe a very small portion, but whatever some of the toys is made by blood and tears. Can you buy a toys as a gift, Christmas gift, for your children, for your neighbor? And this toy is full of blood and tears. Stop by the toys. I don't think you really can damage Chinese economic. But this is a very strong message. We know it, we don't want it, we deny it. Thank you.
Mr. Wu, has the cowardly Clinton administration finally granted you political refuge? I know they refused it the first time. The Clinton administration, I understand you
will leave the microphone a little bit. Just, yeah.
You applied for political asylum, and the last time they denied you that. Has it been confirmed at last?
Where you get the news? I never heard about it.
I read it, that you had been denied political asylum here.
This is not true.
Oh, you have gotten it?
I never heard about it. This is the first time. I really hope you can give me the source. I want to know about it. I never heard about it.
I read that in Human Events, I believe.
Oh, can I have a copy for it?
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Any question?
Do you have anything to say about the Hong Kong coming under Chinese rule?
My view is by Hong Kong have two different points. First of all, next year Hong Kong return to China. Hong Kong is no more as a Hong Kong. It means finished. Of course, not right away, not immediately. You go back to history, Hong Kong as a Hong Kong, just because under an infamous term, colonial land. Okay. 6 million Hong Kongese, most of them Chinese. Why the same people cannot establish Hong Kong everywhere, in every places, anytime, but only on this tiny rocky island? I think the reason is under British system. And that system will end it next year. But Chinese government guarantee, communist government guarantee, so-called one country, two systems, at least 50 years. If you not satisfied, we extend another 50 years. I believe no one in the world want to see the Hong Kong, turned down. Nobody want to see that. Particularly Chinese government want the Hong Kong continuing become the goose, laying the golden eggs for them. They need it. The problem is, who guarantee communists? Check their record. Are they keep words, keep promise? Now, this goose is placed under communism totalitarianism system. Do you think it can still be very healthy? Just like General Motors, the people will tell you tomorrow all of the management team will replaced by communist cadres. And they guarantee, General Motors as a free enterprise is still going on. Do you believe it? I don't believe that. But the second point, I think Hong Kong return to China is a good thing, positive. From historical angle, these are good things. 6 million Hong Kongese, they are not Chinese, they are not British. This is a very special species. They still have Chinese culture, they have Chinese tradition, but they receive education from the West. They enjoy a kind of freedom of speech, freedom of association, and the living condition, the economic situation, they enjoy it. Much better than anywhere in China. So this is a very special 6 million people. And you can see that what is the impact from Hong Kong today in the southern part of China. And next year, there's no border. 6 million people, whatever you can say, 6 million virus, all around thriving in the whole country, I think will be a very, very important factor in China history. I think this is a very good thing. Because basically, China only can change by Chinese. Okay? If the Chinese awake, we are saying as human beings, deserve the rights of freedom, deserve the rights of equality, deserve the rights for democracy, and the whole country will be changed.
Harry, I want to thank you for writing the book. I'm a Chinese American, and when I read your book, I thank God and thank my parents for taking me out of China at the right time. Otherwise, I would have suffered any of the experiences that you mentioned. And I thank you very much for sharing your experience with me. If any one of you, I belong to a human rights group, and if anyone is interested in joining our group, which fight for human rights in China, see me after this panel discussion, and I will be happy to welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I may have to leave in Red Hat now. Just want to say thank you, and as a political oppressed, because the involvement in Tiananmen, I think my personal experience can be another proof for what you told to the audience. Firstly, as I would say it's the truth, it's the reality in China, as the people can be put into prison and also lao gai by no other evidence except their free expression, different political opinions, as not only happened to Wang Dan but many others. And secondly, by personal experience, I got similar phone call, harassment phone call by midnight as you did. So I just want to put other evidence to you. Thank you. I admire your courage to be a troublemaker. It's not easy. I understand. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Wu. I was traveling in China in 1991, and while I was there, I asked a number of students how they felt about Tiananmen, and some of them were affiliated with the Communist Party and others were not, but almost all of them, all except one, acted like nothing happened at all, and they seemed very sincere about it, like they weren't trying to fool me, they really didn't know anything happened. And I'm curious, what is the state of information within China, and do the common people have access to information, and does everyone know what happened, for example, in Tiananmen?
First of all, the medium is entirely controlled by the Communist government in the past 40-some years and to this moment. I think it's a very common knowledge, everybody know about it. In Chinese view, two things, gun and a pen, propaganda and power. They know very well how to control it. The power, the gun, the force is a torture, to torture you. But this is not really a good way to control the people. Isolation. Okay. This is not only Chinese communists know about it. Okay. Chinese, all the empire, way back 2,000 years, they know it very well. Okay. You see, the Great Wall, what is my view? Great Wall is not really for prevent the invasion. Isolation first. Okay. Put the frogs in the bottom of the well and never let it come out, and every year told him, you know, what is the sky of the well? The circle of the well. Okay. You travel in China, many people say, communism is the best system in the world. Because no comparison. Okay. So control the media is a very major task for the Communist Party. Now, a little bit talking about Tiananmen Square. No doubt, Tiananmen Square incident is a very important, is a democracy movement in Chinese history. But inside impact, very small. Okay. It's the most impact is educate the West, because the people saw the CNN, Jesus, what is that? Okay. But actually, China happened so many times. For example, I want to ask you, how many people killed in Tiananmen massacre? You don't try to blame me, okay? You are so cruelty. But I just want to tell you the reality. How many people killed? About 300? Can I give you a 3,000? Are you satisfied? 3,000. How many people arrested? Maybe you estimate 50,000. Let me give you a double, 100,000. Are you satisfied? Compare the past 40 years, many political campaigns. This is smallest one. In 1957, in my political campaign, I want to say my political campaign, so-called anti-rightist movement, the government information say 550,000. The scholar estimate is 1 million. The 1 million victims in the country everywhere. This is the real impact. Okay. A small number of people in Beijing, that, as you know, you travel somewhere, I never heard about it. Because they didn't see it, they didn't hear about it, they don't have their relatives, their friends, not in the name of the victims. So the impact inside are kind of small, but outside is very large. But anyway, this is one of the political movement. Have the position position on the history, in the history.
Mr. Wu, since 1976, Deng Xiaoping's made a lot of economic reforms and very few political reforms. And their overall goal seems to be to catch the other little dragons of Asia in their economic success. Do you think that with the political structure that they have now, that goal will be attainable? And also, do you think that if they were to switch to a capitalist system, well, many people argue that because of their population, that they can never really attain a capital success because of not being able to create a middle class. What's your views on that? Will they be able to attain the success under the current system, and will they be able to achieve capitalism?
Well, in your comments, I understand there's 2 points. The first is economic development can change the dictatorship system. And you say there are some cases, say example in Asia. For example, South Korea and Taiwan, right? Even the President Clinton also mentioned that 2 cases, support his so-called comprehensive engagement policy. Second point is talking about capitalism need a middle class, and then everything is going on. It is true in South Korea and in Taiwan, because economic development, the whole society be reorganized into a democratic society. That's why the 2 former South Korea presidents go to the court. Right? If that's true, some people want to tell me the same thing like this. Okay? Some people say, you see, what's happened over there? Before I rebut them, I say, oh, okay. You want to see Deng Xiaoping and Li Peng later go to the court? Because economic process, right? 2 presidents in South Korea responsible for that killing. And Deng Xiaoping, Li Peng responsible for the Tiananmen massacre. Do you want to see that? And they said, no, we don't want to see it. So, what are you talking about? Now, totalitarian system based on capitalism, based on so-called private ownership system, is very different from the totalitarian system based on communism, based on state ownership system. There's fundamental difference. Because communism denies private ownership. Okay. Whatever the dictator in South Korea, in Taiwan, they still recognize private ownership. There's a fundamental difference. And you know that private ownership is the basement of the privacy, basic basement of the democracy and liberty. I think this is two different things right here. Second, and you know, capitalism doesn't mean democracy. So today there's like Iraq is a capitalist country. There's no democracy. Second, human rights, it deserves to human beings. That doesn't mean you are poor, you are rich, you're educated or you're uneducated. Doesn't matter the color of your skin. As a human beings, deserve the rights. Why you want to tell me, before you have a middle class, before you have the people educated in the majority in the society, and then the human rights can come back to you? You walk on the street in Los Angeles downtown, you find the homeless people. Can you tell him that you have to go to school, you own the property, become middle class, and then you deserve as a human beings? I can give you the rights of a human being. You will not do that. Why you apply to the Asian society? You need a middle class and then talk about human rights. Hey, please carefully read it. Declaration of Human Rights of United Nations. They don't say that. Actually, Chinese government, Chinese communists want to say that. We have our culture, we have our tradition, the human rights issue is a concept of Western value, Western idea. Don't try to impose to us. And they will try to tell you, human beings, as a human beings, first of all, have to feed them. It's a life, and then talking about the rights. So the human being becomes animal, becomes beast, becomes pig. And the communist government says, we responsible to feed the people, and then we give them the rights. I think you disagree with them. Now, if today there's a capitalist system thriving in China, what kind of capitalism? This is very different from your concept as a free capitalism. Okay. You can make an investigation even inside China or outside over here. Okay. Many Chinese people right now are very rich, but in Los Angeles, in Miami, in New York, they come over here, pay cash, buy a house, $500,000, million. Who are these people? Most of them either is official of the government or member of the party, or their son and daughter. I have a conversation with them. I say, your father is a communist member, and communists suppose is a proletariat. How come you have so much money? You're bourgeois class. But this is communist bourgeois class, real bourgeois class. This is the state bureaucratic capitalism system. There's no, that is nothing can relate to democracy and human rights. Okay. State bureaucratic system is the basement of the dictatorship, not the free speech, free democracy. This is very different. Okay. Why do people want to tell you? I'll be honest with you. It is true. China is a very good opportunity. Okay. First of all, very large labor force. Very cheap labor force. And that's not enough. And the disciplined labor force. In this country, no union, no strikes, no civil rights movement. Don't worry about health insurance. Nobody complained you. Just have a good relation with the officer, with the party. Help them have a deposit in American bank. Help their son and daughter come over here. They maintain the order for you. You have a good business in China, stable. This is a good opportunity. That's why the American businessmen want to tell you, we have to go. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you.